Okay, start reading from here again.
Difference between day and night. What a huge difference just through separation.
Yeah, so we have spoken about the difference between day and light, and the difference is thanks to order. When order is placed and separation is placed there, difference came. And what a huge difference, day and night.
Things that seem similar or same must also be separated from each other to find their best position and order, like water above and water below.
Okay, now this is very key. Look at that and read it slowly. Things that seem similar or same. That is where it is most difficult to find difference. And that's why there you need more wisdom. The law of difference, the ability to see difference in seemingly same thing or similar thing, that is why difference is required. I mean, wisdom is required because it's not glaring. It's easy when something is glaringly different or same. I mean, or different, separate. But when they are the same or similar, only wise people can see difference in them. But the ability to bring out a difference, all differences in things that seemingly are the same or similar, that is where order is needed. And that is a manifestation of wisdom. But the ability to do that is where the beauties are, that's where the inventions are, that's where the creativity is. Just like God was able to separate water and differentiate between water and water. Now, water is the same everywhere. What is the difference? How can you separate and differentiate between waters? But when God put order and separated water between waters, one became lake, another became ocean, another became island. What is the difference between island and a lake? The situation and the location of the land and the ground. Some outside, some inside. That's already a difference. Lake and ocean. Lake and what? What did I just say now? Island. Ocean is totally different ball game. So these are, just land and water, but they are different things already. That takes difference. That takes wisdom, and that takes order. Here we go.
The next principle of order is boundaries.
The next principle of order. So one principle of order that we saw is difference. Law of difference. The next principle of order, that how to create order. That's what we are dealing with. Order is created by seeing the difference in something. Order is created through wisdom. Order is created through boundaries. Let's have a look at this documentary here. Beautiful. Animals are doing complex things like that. And what are human beings doing?
Measures to try to anticipate of sea level rise, but also for the changing of the river levels. But at the same time, we have a large urban area, so we have to anticipate on the increase of rainfall.
One of the projects of the city of Rotterdam is the so-called Green Roof program. It gives people subsidies to put plants and other vegetations on their roof.
With this more or less innovative solution, we can arrange the needed water storage capacity. And especially in the denser part of the city, we do not have enough space to develop more lakes and ponds or canals. So we need other solutions. And the green roof is one of these solutions.
Further upstream, you can find a striking example of the inventive way the Dutch have learned to live with and even on the water. Here in Maasbommel, 46 houses have been built that start floating when the water rises.
The house floats.
We are now under the house, and this part is floating. It is completely
Floating
free.
house.
It is built on pillars, so that there is no way that it can move. And when the water is rising, and by 2.20 meters, then the house is floating, and that's about here.
Wow.
There are even concrete plans for building an entire floating city.
DeltaSync has developed a floating city concept, which means that we are designing and developing a city on the water. This means that the city is completely flexible and adapts to higher and lower water levels.
DeltaSync sees huge potential for this concept.
Well, the Netherlands is not the only vulnerable delta in the world. Many world cities are located along the coast. And it's estimated that in 2030, half of the population will live within 100 kilometers from the coast, which means that more and more people are moving towards the coast. So I think that this concept has major potential also for other delta areas all over the world.
And that is exactly what the Dutch government wants to achieve.
The Dutch have a lot of expertise to combat rising sea level, and therefore we have also a lot of expertise that we can offer to other countries and help them solve the climate adaptation problems.
And isn't that the ultimate way to turn disaster into opportunity? When you think...
Believe it or not, that is genius. Order. So look at the complex order this we have to create. We are not even talking about our own, just managing ordinary city. These are more complex solutions. Okay, here we go.
This is what God did, separating between earth and heaven, firmament and earth.
Separation. True separation bringing about order. Creating boundaries. True boundaries bringing about order. That is all wisdom in action.
Genesis 1, 9 through 10. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so.
Separation. Just by separation, bringing about product and bringing about order and creativity.
And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas. And God saw that it was good. After the sky, there are still no earth, until boundaries were established, for waters to stay in their spaces. Genesis 1.
Wait. Look at here. God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. Now, what first of all happened was, there was the firmament, you see under, then the firmament and the waters were connected together. So what happened was, God separated the firmament to go to the top and withdrew the water down. But then on the water, there was no land. So just firmament and waters. So what God did was, he said, let the dry land appear. So that came from under the waters. And then God had to separate waters from the land. That's how God sees. And God said that now is good. So read that again.
After the sky, there are...
So after the firmament, the sky...
There are still no earth.
No earth, just water.
Until boundaries were established.
Now, God only told the earth to appear after boundaries has been placed on the water and on the sky. There has been order, boundaries has been placed put in place. Then the earth could appear. Yep. Oh. So boundaries were established for waters to stay in their spaces.
Learning to check excesses is one of our greatest needs.
And that's why we need boundaries. And excesses are everywhere, like we just saw in Amsterdam right now, in Rotterdam and in Holland. Excesses of water, excesses of everything in our own personal lives, in our behaviors, in our character, excesses in our culture, excesses in our everywhere. That's why borders and order is needed.
It starts in your flesh and personal life. When boundaries are violated, familiarity.
Look what happens. That's what happens when boundaries are violated. You see? No honor, no respect, no law of difference. Where is the law of difference here? You see? Where is the law of difference? Boundaries are violated. Boundaries are necessary to bring about order in the society. Boundaries are necessary to bring about orders in relationships. Boundaries are necessary to bring about order in businesses, in structure, in nature, in cities, in nations, in relationships between peoples. Let's show you how. So these kind of things, like I'm talking about, the law of difference, border, boundaries, wisdom, these things have to be taught. So if we want to build a better society in Nigeria, we need to teach these things. Let's see how the American government taught honesty to their people in the 40s and the 50s. Using mass media. And we have to do the same thing too. We want our people to be honest. We've got to teach them. We've got to reorient them. As people think, so they are. We've got to change their mindset. Put the volume on, please. You can't get the volume? Okay, sorry. Then you might not be able to show the film today. But the idea is that America, they had to do films to train people on how to be honest, on honesty. With the other day, we saw how they taught their people on responsibility, on manners, on grooming. These things will not just come by themselves. Order requires that people are taught. Okay, let's look at another thing. Let's look at what happens when order is not in place. Next one, yes. When there is no order, no
A
boundaries.
place can be lawless for many reasons. For example, it may never have been inhabited and therefore never needed laws, or the establishment could have collapsed and people took control. Although lawless places are hard to find, they do still exist. In this list, we'll be showing you 5 places that are pretty much lawless. We would like to give a big shout out to viewer Josh Beresford for suggesting this video. Number 5. Antarctica. As one of the few places on Earth that lacks anything resembling a government, Antarctica is of course going to make it on this list. It has no permanent population, just a few scientists who stay for a few months for research. Therefore, Antarctica is just a big empty ice cube with essentially no laws. Technically speaking, you could move there, build yourself a mansion, and nobody would realistically bother to do anything. However, if you start murdering people, you could be taken back to your country of origin and punished. Although kind of lawless, it does have some restrictions. Many countries in the past have tried to claim Antarctica since the continent does have natural resources. However, anything useful is buried so deep below thick ice, it's not economically viable to own. The Antarctic Treaty System outlaws any country trying to claim it, and essentially agrees that Antarctica is devoted to peace and science. Also, no military presence of any country is allowed. Number 4. Central African Republic. Although technically speaking it has laws, and if you break them you should be punished. Many laws, however, are just not enforced. You see, the government has lost control of its people. Gangs, warlords and thugs roam the streets and do whatever they feel like with no consequences from the government. Police officers also act as an independent gang and do whatever they feel like too. The situation has got so bad the government itself advises foreigners to stay away for their own safety. There are also many countries or parts of countries that have the exact same problem, but since this is only a list of 5, we cannot name them all and therefore just have to pick one. So while technically speaking it's not lawless, but if laws are not enforced, it loses its power as a law. An example to better understand this is if you had a $20 bill, but no shop or person in the world would accept it as currency. Although it's technically money, it loses its value and becomes worthless. Number 3. International waters. This one is slightly tricky. No country itself has claim or can enforce a law in international waters. However, most countries will punish you if they catch you doing something illegal. For example, you can't just get caught killing random people in international waters and expect nothing to happen. If maritime law governed ships catch you, they can take you back to their country of origin and punish you under their law. However, with that being said, smaller crimes that are not so serious most likely won't be pursued. Also, open waters make up about 3/4 of the planet. This means a lot of illegal activities happen out there that goes unnoticed, and is therefore never punished. Number 2. Outer space. If you somehow manage to get into outer space and let's say travel to a different planet like Mars, you could do whatever the hell you want. Obviously, the idea of one person going to space is ridiculous, but it's still technically an area which is lawless. Now, you'd never be allowed to actually build a space shuttle and launch yourself into space. They would lock you up before you even put your space helmet on. But just hypothetically, if you somehow managed to do it, you'd have complete and utter freedom. However, if you decided to return to Earth, you most likely would be arrested. What your punishment would be is very difficult to say, as it's obviously never happened before. In fact, you'd probably get a job at NASA for managing to build your own space shuttle. Since no one nation can claim any part of space, if any individual went there, you could do whatever you want. There wouldn't be much you could do, and certainly no country would ever bother trying to catch you. Number 1. The Deep Web. It's not a place you can physically go. Instead, the deep web is an unindexed part of the World Wide Web where anything goes. It's lawless in the sense you can buy drugs, guns, order a hit on someone and do all sorts of crazy stuff, but of course if you get caught you're still going to be punished by the laws in your country. However, if the deep web was an actual place you could visit, then it would be lawless. A place where whatever you want to do, you can do, and nobody in that area would stop you. So while it's debatable if it should even be on this list, as one would argue it's not an area, however the world as we know it is becoming more and more digital. Despite being something you cannot...
I think only that African country is interesting, huh? That one is even worse than Nigeria, I guess. Central African Republic. Okay, let's check the next one. How is German law? Huh?
If we look at the German constitution, it's almost like Bach. A short piece of music, very well composed, well thought through, some basic motives, some transpositions of these motives, but everything in a short, very good
And that's
order.
talking about order right there. Can you
In
believe it?
December
A society
2012,
that
I
works so
traveled to
perfectly
Salzburg,
like...
Austria to teach a class on American constitutionalism. While I was there, I spoke with my friend Stefan Kirsta, who's a professor at the University Law School. Stefan is from Germany, and I wanted to ask him about some aspects of the German legal system. In the wake of World War II, Germany completely reoriented its constitution to protect fundamental rights. The whole constitution is founded on them, and they're placed first in the text itself. I was especially interested in hearing his views about the Constitution's first article, which protects human dignity. The United States Constitution doesn't mention dignity. Instead, our Constitution explicitly protects individual liberty. Because Stefan knows American law well, I wondered what he thought about this basic concept in his own constitutional tradition.
In my view, human dignity is not only a principle, not only a value, but a fundamental right. And it's the most important fundamental right. Because of the
human dignity,
atrocities of National Socialism, because of the consequences of World War II, it was quite obvious that under certain circumstances persons could lose all their rights. So there had to be one right guaranteeing every human being the right to have rights, the right to be acknowledged as a legal person, which then has further fundamental rights. And because this was the idea, I think, behind receiving the principle and the right of human dignity.
It's like in Africa, there's nothing like that. That's the law of difference right there. That's what we are talking about, the law of difference.
Human dignity is inviolable. No country, no state can violate human dignity. If it does so, it denies its own preconditions, because then it treats some human beings not as persons. In the second sentence, the state is obliged to respect and protect human dignity, whereas the first sentence enshrines an axiom, a fundament of the whole of the Constitution, without which the Constitution simply wouldn't work. And the second sentence gives a right to reject, the individual to reject certain state action or demand protection where the individual cannot help itself. So some aspects of the welfare state, which we in Germany prefer to call the social state, are already enshrined in the second sentence. And I'm not so sure, since the first sentence is an axiom of the Constitution, if we wouldn't find aspects of human dignity even in the American Constitution, without the wording telling anything, but there may be privacy clauses or other clauses in which there is some aspect of human dignity.
You see the difference between America and European countries here. Stop. You see the reason why in America a policeman can easily kill a human being, a black person, or black could be enslaved, because they didn't put human dignity in the American Constitution, only human freedom. But in Europe, people also violate law in Europe, but they don't shoot them. They could even shoot them, but not with something that could kill them. Just with gas or something like that, or something that could make them incapacitated, but not kill them. But in America, human dignity is not a big deal. They shoot you, you die. So that's why all that conflict is there. But in Germany, that's the superiority here. And not just in Germany, all European countries, they don't just shoot you. It's the last thing before anybody could shoot you in Europe here. But over there, what matters most is the law in America. Law is about everything. So you cross the law, they have the right to shoot you down. And that's why a little bit of racism could have a place in America. But in Germany here, and in Europe here, very difficult to find racism. Okay?
Well, dignity is a foundation of liberty. What does dignity mean? Well, in the Kantian interpretation, it says no person may be treated as a mere object of state action. But how do you treat, putting it the other way around, how do you treat someone as a subject? Well, to be a legal subject means to have rights. And to have rights is the legal expression to be free. Because then your action, your free
talking about my
actions
book.
have a legal relevance.
The law of difference.
Which
That's the
is
kind of thing I'm
guaranteed
saying.
by having a right.
That we could introduce
So, actually,
in our society,
my
in our
understanding, perhaps
culture,
in the
our
German
country.
understanding,
And it could be
liberty
one of our greatest
again
strengths.
is founded in
So all
human
these
dignity.
books I'm writing, if we could just implement them, mind-blowing. Thank you. Let's go back. We read?
Boundaries allows everything to function in their perfect place,
But beautiful stuff.
giving the best or functioning in their full capacities.
So boundaries allows you to maximize the use and the function and effectiveness of anything. Boundary makes you to maximize the potential of a thing. Boundary allows everything to work to their full capacity, to function in their place, and to be able to work where they belong the best. And boundaries also allow things to function in their perfect place and give their perfect service. Beautiful stuff. So we must know how to use boundaries, how to maximize boundaries, and how to use boundaries to the benefit of the goals and objectives.
Boundaries is why we need ethics, cultural orientations, so we could know social and societal orders.
So boundaries help to maintain orders. Orders are maintained where boundaries are defined.
Countries where there are no boundaries are normally chaotic societies. Hence, the freest societies are most regimented.
That's why Africans don't like Europe, because they are too regimented. But really, that is what guarantees freedom. Regulations. But when it's only freedom to do anything, to be like that Central African Republic that we just saw.
Most laws in freest countries because laws bring order.
The free countries have most laws. If you see any country where things work, they have a lot of laws there. And why that? Because laws bring order. Laws bring order. That's why you go to Africa, nobody is stopping you, no laws. But if you come to Europe, everything law. Well, that's why we have got some orders in Europe. Let's have a look at, no, not this one here. Yeah, go ahead.
Genesis 1, verses 14 through 15. And God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. The next thing God established to deal with chaos is timing.
God put timing. Timing is also part of order. Time is another way to bring about order. Time is a form of boundary as well. And time is an instrument of order.
Life teaches us to make good use of time, while time teaches us the value of life.
Beautiful.